What's going on, Chaotix and friends and very, very excited viewers for the FPL Season 2. We are actually underway as of today when I'm recording this video because it is Sunday, which is the beginning of Week 1. So, we're going to be taking a look at each of the teams, going through this. If you guys didn't see the draft podcast, we did Part 1 and Part 2, and I was joined by 2E5 and Damien Dragon for that. Did a lot of fun talking about each pick, how they worked with the teams. But I want to do my own personal thing where I talked about each of the teams, what I'm expecting to see, and how my team is going to be good against them. That's a lot of what we didn't talk about. We talked about how each team was going to be good for building off certain things, and maybe how certain pieces of other teams are going to affect them. But I want to look at my team and how they're going to stack up against the rest of the team. And also I want to take a look in depth at each of the teams, seeing what they could run, some sets, some runs, what you're going to be expecting throughout the season. So, let's start with my team, and I actually am very organized with my list. I wanted to keep all the tiers in order, so I actually drafted 2 tier 1s, 2 tier 2s, 4 tier 3s, and 2 tier 4s, and 2 tier 5s. And I have a lot of fun with this team, but my big thing going into this that a lot of people didn't see right away, I picked up Polytoad, and I want to do a rain team. So I have the ability to do that as well. I have some really nice goes with that with Tapu Koko, Seismitoad, obviously Tornadus, and then a lot of my other mods can run water type moves as well. So that is a very good team. Nice core for me to set up. I thought it would be really cool to do it, and Polytoad was there. Actually, it was one of the ideas I wanted to bring on this team, a nice tier 5 pick to go well with my first overall pick with Tapu Koko. So let's talk about Tapu Koko. First overall pick, it's obviously very good, physical or special. Electric and fairy type, can run a lot of different things. You're just going to see wild charge, but it does give me a really cool option with bulky Pokemon and running Nature's Madness, take him down to half, maybe run a toxic set as well, and take him out that way. The best pairing for Tapu Koko, a lot of people know this, is Luch Koko, and bringing Hawlucha as my second pick. And I wanted this because it can do a lot of different things. Unburden's going to be very, very good for this mon, as well as I can use a lot of different items on this thing to get rid of the item slot as well, and also help Hawlucha in the thing. So very good pairing with Tapu Koko and Electric Seed. So that's gonna be a nice thing to go. And also it's got some really nice moves with some flying type stab, some fighting type stab, and then some nice utility here and there for bringing on other stuff. Next pick is Seismitoad. I'm just going down the list as you guys can tell. Seismitoad comes on the list and is one of my Z move users. I wanted to use Z moves because I have a plan for every single one of my mons on the team. Seismitoad did not have a nice utility with a nice move, with a nice item constantly that I wanted to run with it. So I decided it would be a good pickup for a nice Z move user. It does have a lot of access to a lot of different things, and I can see a lot of different things coming with this team. So Z move makes a lot of sense for Seismitoad. Running through a lot of stuff, as I mentioned earlier, it could run really well in rain. A lot of other teams have access to do rain as well. So Seismitoad could be a nice counter to that, bringing that swift swim ability. Able to go through a lot of things. Also, very, very good against electric types. A good switch-in for that a lot of people probably going to be unexpecting. If I throw it in there, it's going to be a mon that sleeps in the back and then switches in on electric types, taking care of that for me. And also, as I mentioned, great coverage moves, so it's going to be really nice in that regard. My next one is a Mega Aggron, my mega pick for this season, coming out of tier 2. I wanted a nice steel type and bulky and physical, hitting really hard, also being able to take physical hits. This is going to be nice. And then Filter is a great ability, making any super effective move 3/4 of the damage instead of the full power of it. So it's going to be nice. I can live a couple hits with that. Though I do lose access to an item because a Mega Stone has to be on it. So a little bit of leeway there, but it does lose the 4 times weakness to fighting and 4 times weakness to ground because of the only pure steel typing, losing that rock typing as it mega evolves. I really like this thing as a powerhouse to come in. It's going to be nice to wreck those fairy types that you're going to see in other teams. Really cool mod in that regard. So, very excited to see this on my team. Then you get Tornadus, my second and other Z-move user. I only get 2 in this draft season. You only get 2 for this league. Of course, some people did not get to draft Z users because they missed the time frame. But Tornadus is my other Z user. It's going to really be nice in the rain if I want to run it that way. I can get super hitting stab hurricanes that are 100% accurate, so that can be really nice to see, as well as I can do a lot of different items with this. If I don't want to bring a Z move, I can scarf it, I can spec it, I can band it, I can do what I want to do with the Tornadus. So I think Z move is a really nice thing. It makes this thing a little bit more unpredictable, and that's a lot of the reason why Tornadus is on my team. My team is very unpredictable, and that's what I like to do. Last season, I kind of made it too predictable. Always bringing Celesteela, always bringing Landorus T. I want to do a little bit of different things so you can see any combination of these mons can come in. I think they really mesh pretty well, but I'll talk about more of that later on throughout this draft. But Tornadus just gets a nice moveset, and I think it's really nice. It's going to be a great special attacker. Picked it early on because I needed a nice special attacker, and I had the physical side in Hawlucha and Tapu Koko. I had the defense and Seismitoad in my next pick, Cresselia. But Tornadus was a nice grab early on in the rounds for a nice special attacker. Speaking of Cresselia, we're going to go that another tier 3 mon, my second tier 3. And Cresselia, pure psychic type, really nice, only really weak to Bug, Dark, Ghost, which are very uncommon typings, but you can't see like knockoffs come off, and that's going to be a pain in my butt. Very, very bulky mon. I really needed a nice bulk tank, and I watched a lot of draft leagues where Cresselia worked really well on setting up and just sweeping teams with Calm Mind in the end. So I think that could be a really fun set for Cresselia to run. Also, could just be there for nice support, and I really have a lot of variant ways to run this thing. It's not going to become more of a offensive mon, but it's nice defensive stalling mon that I can run a lot of different ways defensively throughout the team, and maybe even set up some nice Calm Minds and things like that to get that special attack stat up, get the stats up, and just wreck through teams. So Cresselia is a nice mon that I could run sweeper-wise, I could run defensive as well. Actually, then my next pick is my final pick of the draft, and Drapion, a tier 3 mon. Now, Drapion actually wasn't on my draft board. A lot of people don't think that was a wise decision. A lot of people think this mon was a great pick for my team. I understand that it's a very great mon, and I really did need it. At the time, you see everything else on my team. Really did need a dark type. Really need a solid dark type, so I chose this mon as a great dark type to add to my team. Also gives me another poison user besides Garbodor. Going to be more of the physical hitting thing, so I can have another access to taking out fairy types along with Mega Aggron. In that regard, does get a lot of access to different things. However, this could be a nice Z move user. However, I think it gets access to Black Sludge, which I like a little bit more. And honestly, I wanted to see how Tornadus and Seismitoad could run it. I think they're going to be in the better of the two running Z moves, make them more viable in different situations. And Drapion, just not really what I wanted to see Z move. It could be really cool using Z moves maybe in a future season, but this season it's just going to be sitting here using its nice physical attack stat to take out other teams. Next we go on to Florges, a pure fairy type that I really wanted to have on this team. Gives me access to a nice healer or a special attacking beast if I want to run it that way too. I'm not really sure how I really want to run this. Florges might not come that often, but Florges is nice to have on my bench just to make people think about it. Bring that poison type in so I can definitely bring Cresselia. It's nice pairing with Cresselia, and also does really nice for a fairy, steel, and a fairy steel and poison core. A lot of people think a fairy dragon steel core, but I went for the fairy dragon poison as my main priority, and I can run fairy dragon poison with Garbodor or Drapion on the poison side, and I can run the fairy with either Tapu Koko or Florges, and then Mega Aggron's a nice steel type to have. On the other that I did not get a dragon type, but I do have a lot of access to dragon type moves throughout my team, so maybe a dragon is what I was missing from this draft, but I still think Florges is a nice pick. Gives me a lot of utility on my defensive and supporting sides. Next we got Garbodor, my tier 4, one of my tier 4 picks. It's a really cool mon to run. I actually would never run Garbodor ever besides the draft league, but I did think it was pretty cool. This whole season was about me picking up mons I never would really try. I mean, I don't really like the Tapus too much. Hawlucha I think is pretty nice, but I think you have to pair it well, and I think that worked really well with Tapu Koko and Seismitoad, as well as my other upper tier mons. It really pairs well, being a nice attacking mon and pivot. But we're talking about Garbodor here, and I think this thing could work really well. Only really weak to Psychic and Ground. Not very common typings, but you do see some Earthquakes coming out for some of my teams, so maybe not the best bring here, but I could throw an Air Balloon on it. Another reason why it's not a Z-move user, as well as it does have access to use the Black Sludge if I want to run it that way as well. So Garbodor could be really fun mon to see in a lot of different aspects. It can hit, it can defend, so very good average stats, running around like 90s and 80s. So pretty nice. I can run it multiple ways, and it's really unpredictable, as I mentioned with my team. Next we have Uxie, and it's kind of a poor man's Cresselia, but I really did want Cresselia and Uxie on my team. Give me another Psychic type. And this thing actually gets access to Stealth Rock, so it could be one of my Stealth Rock users. A lot of my team doesn't have utility to entry hazards. You got Garbodor with Toxic Spikes, Uxie with Stealth Rock, Mega Aggron can run Stealth Rock as well. Seismitoad can get some nice stuff in there as well. But I wanted a mon that I knew I could rely on to get solid Stealth Rocks off every time. And Uxie was kind of a niche pick late rounds for me. I wanted something really cool, and I never really would use any of these like Guardian Pokemon. Actually, if I picked one I really wanted to use, I would have used Azelf, but Uxie was nice to have in a tier 4 slot, so I picked it. And I think it'd be really fun to use. I'm going to be excited to see how I can run this thing. It's got a lot of different sets it can run, but it might be a good bring over Cresselia Sunwings just because it has access to some different moves and typings like that. Next, we got Jinx. Actually, one of my later mons, I picked it up in the end. I had my first half drafted. I knew what I was going to get. I wanted to build that solid core. Then Politoed came in with a nice rain, but I'll talk to Politoed in a little bit. And Jinx just kind of fit the niche pretty well. It does really work in rain, which a lot of other teams can run as well. So I got that dry skin ability, can do that as well. But I got to worry about the fire type. It's going to get obliterated. And I know that looks like a bad idea because it is going to get killed by any fire type if I run dry skin. But you gotta look at the stats. It's gonna be really bad to any hit. So I'm really thinking this mon's gonna be coming in, doing some nice cleaning up with some nice mons that are gonna be weak to it, are also slow. So Jinx could be a nice little pick to bring in some nice power that this team could really use. And also a lot of the other teams have dragon types, so I wanted a nice solid ice type to bring in this team. I do have 3 psychic types, and that might be a problem. You might see a trade coming here or there later on. But for now, I think the team looks pretty nice, and a Jinx really is more ice type for me than psychic, just because I wanted a nice solid ice type, and picking up something in tier 5 that could work for the upper tiers as well, really solid in Jinx. Finally, we get Politoed, one of my pieces that sort of fell into place really nicely. It was not a big priority for me to get this thing. I wanted to draft a team that could work really well in a lot of different situations. Politoed just makes this thing work really well because I can have the access to bring rain. Also, it's a really good switch in for water types with the water absorbability. So I can run this thing many different ways. That being said, if I want to bring rain, I want to bring a damp rock, so it did not get the Z move because of that. And also because it can run a lot of different things. You can see this thing come assault vested, bulking up that special defense, making this thing pretty near impossible to defeat, only really being weak to electric and grass, both of which are primarily special attacking types. So Politoed was a really cool pick for me, and I really wanted to try this thing. I usually try to stay away from the Poliwag line just because I think it looks cool, but I just don't find usefulness in it. But Politoed really stood out to me this season. It really was a nice pick in the lower tiers, and I want to get my tier 5s early on. I took them about middle of the draft because a lot of them were going really fast, so I wanted these two. Once I found these two, I really wanted them on my team. That's why I traded up for the Jinx pick. Looking at this team, overall, pretty nice team. I like it. It's pretty solid. I'm very happy with the way the draft worked out. I really didn't have too many things go awry. I had a few mons that were on my board that went to other teams, but I think picking up some nice mons like Drapion and Jinx and Uxie on the tail end of the draft really made this team come together and work pretty nicely. So I'm very excited to start battling this week with them. Of course, I fight the North Carolina Empoleons week 1, and I'm really excited to see what I'm going to bring. I haven't really done the team builder yet. I haven't looked too much at the team, and we're going to really look at it in this video because I need to get ready and prep for that match. Next, we have the New York Met, coached by Super Mew, and a really cool draft style for him. He did say in the draft stream that he was going for a Disney theme, and this actually works really well for some Disney characters. So Mew, obviously, for overall first round pick, great pick for him. very good Pixie Mon. All Pixies are pretty nice with base 600 stats and 100 overall on every stat. So could run this thing a lot of different ways. Not a Z-move user, which is absolutely phenomenal because Mew Z-move, that's just nightmarish. Because you never know what to expect from this thing, having a lot of utility to every move in the game. So really glad it's not a Z-move user. Ditto's a kind of fun pick for him. I think it can work decently, but you got to be careful about what you do. If you don't run, I expect this to see Choice Scarf set, because if you don't have a Choice Scarf set, your Ditto's kind of useless unless it's coming in on a slow mon or you have Trick Room up, which he doesn't have a whole lot of access to Trick Room. I mean, Mew, obviously, but not a whole lot of access to that, and I don't really expect him to see it. It's not really good as a Trick Room team, so probably not going to see that. Next, he picks up Vaporeon with a bulky water type. Very good mon. I really like Vaporeon, my favorite evolution by far, just because of the match I had with it. But this gives some nice utility to some nice recovery moves. It's probably going to be seen as more of a support mon with some Ice Beam and Scalds coming off of it. Also, Wish, Protect, Toxic, probably going to be some nice things you see with that as well. Picking up next mon with Snorlax was actually something on my draft here. I really wanted Snorlax. It really fit well on my team. It was kind of a pickup for another mon that I didn't get as well. So seeing Snorlax on this team, I think it works pretty well with this team. It looks, well, Snorlax works really well with any team. Restlax is always a nice thing, or Curselax even coming out. This thing could wreck through teams. Even Belly Drum sets have been seen. So very, very scary to see what comes out with this Snorlax. It can run a lot of different ways. But depends on what set you really need for the week. So Snorlax is going to be one of those mons you got to watch and really prep for, thinking about how you might bring it when the match begins. Next, you got Sylveon, another evolution on this team. Really cool mon, probably one of the better fairy types in the draft. I actually said in the stream, probably the best fairy type in the league. Well, it's definitely the best pure fairy type, and also probably your best attacking fairy Pokemon, just because it's got Stab, Moonblast, and it's a very good special attacker, so it's going to wreck through a lot of things. So Dragon types, beware of this thing coming through and destroying you. However, it does lack some nice speed and defenses, so it can be taken out easily if you have a nice Steel or Poison type, or one of those typings and moves to take this thing out. I can see Regirock from tier 5. Tekken had this thing last season. It was a really cool mon. It does have nice access to a nice sturdy ability, but you do have some access to take this thing out pretty nicely. So you gotta be worried about how you run this thing. However, it can cause some havoc on some team. It does have some nice stats to go along with it, as you would expect from one of the legendary Titans. But I don't really have much else to say about it. It's pretty lackluster in forms of legendary. That's why it's tier 5. So we'll see how Mew decides to run it this season. I see he takes his Mega Insectile. I think Sceptile is a nice Mega form. I really do like it, but another reason why I wanted to get some Ice types on my team, because 4 times weak to it, it's going to be nice for Jinx to run through that as well. But Mega Sceptile with that Lightning Rod ability is going to be really nice for some of his other teams, like Talonflame, who's weak. Talonflame and Vaporeon, who are also both weak to electric type attacks. It's going to have nice for that Lightning Rod ability. I do not think it's the best Mega for his team, but I do think it's a really cool one that runs pretty well on his team. I think Mega Gengar would have been a nice pick too, but that's Uber and it's broken and it's not valid for this league. So I can see why you didn't pick Mega Gengar. Speaking of Gengar, that's the next pick. Tier 2 mon, really cool. Got some nice abilities, especially that Cursed Body and Levitate. So depending on what you want to bring, if you're expecting the ground type to come in and take you out, Cursed Body is probably not your best bet. You probably want to run a Levitate set. But you do have Cursed Body that can allow moves to be disabled after being used, which is pretty busted in the fact that you could take out the only attacking move to hit Gengar and make your opponent miss all its moves, and then you just take it out. So Gengar is a really cool one. You got to be weary about battling. Next, another mon that Tekken had last season is Shuckle. Really cool mon to set up some nice hazards. You can see some Sticky Whip, Stealth Rock, things like that. But it is pretty frail and pretty frail on the attacking side, so not going to be a nice attacker. You're going to see Toxic and Protect as well. But if you bring in something that's going to hit it really strong and really nice, maybe set up with something, or wear it down yourself, you can take Shuckle out. I don't see why this was really necessary for his team. It does give him access to a lot of the entry hazards, as I mentioned. And if you look at the rest of the team, nothing else really does that. So if he wants entry hazard, he's going to have to bring Shuckle pretty much. So I expect to see Shuckle pretty often this season, and something I want to really watch out for when I'm battling. Shayman's the next pick, grass type, another Pixie Mon, and I think actually a pretty nice pick for him, giving him another good grass type. Grass types are weak to a lot of things, but Shayman does bring a nice ability, natural cure, could be a nice healer for his team with some of its moves like aromatherapy and stuff like that. So I'm not expecting Shayman to really be physical and attacking. A lot of the time it's going to be more running to support the team and take on some nice, really bulky mons with some stally tactics. Picking up his first Z-move user in Tapu Lele. He took his last two mons as his Z-move users. Tapu Lele actually pretty terrifying as a Z-move user, just because it has a lot of access to some really powerful moves. And it's got a nice special attack stat, so if you see a Moonblast coming out, you see a Psychic coming out from this thing behind the Z-move, it could be really powerful and really busted. So hopefully I don't have to really worry about that, but I'm hoping to get rid of this thing pretty quickly and not really have to deal with it too much. And finally, his last pick is Talonflame, a really great Mon. Gale Wing's ability is going to be absolutely absurd. Of course, that Brave Bird is going to hit priority every time, so yeah, not really what you want to see coming for your team. You're going to need something to take that Gale Wings, Brave Bird, and then finish it off. So nice solid rock type. Could be a nice go for anyone who's facing this team, but it can be pretty busty. Then you got the ability to go Z move on that as well with some nice fire types, or it's got a pretty good utility in some other typings as well, but you're probably going to see a Z Brave Bird more than likely. Next, and they're going to be playing the St. Louis Miniors week 1. Next, you have my opponent for week 1, North Carolina Napoleon, coached by Zygamer. And his team is not completed on this board because he has not completed it yet. He does not have any Z-move users, so it's kind of nice, but I do have to look at the draft board for his final couple picks. But he does lead off his draft with a Mega Sableye. Really nice with Magic Bounce ability. Pretty nice to run in some. It can run in some Uber's tiers, but I'm not really too worried about it. It does die to fairies pretty nicely. And if you're prepared for a Mega Sableye, you don't really have to worry about it. Chansey him on that TV actually had last season. Didn't use it at all, I don't believe. And Chansey comes in here really good with a nice Eviolite on it. Of course, knockoff is going to be crucial for this team to take it out, and then a nice fighting type move. So Chansey can be broken, but you're going to have some nice toxic and stally moves coming out on it. So be careful with how you decide to play Chansey. Zoroark is also a really cool mon for this team. It's going to bring nice illusion to utility on the team, making it so is it actually what's out on the field, or is it something else? You do have the team preview, you can't see what is on the team. So Zoroark's gonna be one of those mons you gotta look out for in the preview, see if you have it on the team, and then determine if Zoroark actually is coming out at the beginning of the match, which it might, or see if it comes out later on as a switch into something. Next we got Salamence. Coming in a nice solid tier 2 mon with a nice flying and dragon typing. First one's weak to ice though, so really nice from some ice type users on the other teams. But it is pretty powerful as a pseudo legendary, and I can't really say too much else about its nice utility. Probably could have been a really nice Z-move user, but of course that did not happen. Thankfully, it did not happen. Next you pick Donphan up in tier 3, some nice early access to priority moves like Icicle Spear and stuff like that, and then some utility in like Rapid Spin and setting up entry hazards of its own. He actually gets a nice Sun Team core going on with Ninetales and some awesome mons later on in his pick. Ninetales is a really cool mon with Drought ability, also Flash Fire I believe is its other ability, but it is pretty cool. It does pack a nice punch on the special side, but pretty average mon as a tier 5 pick, so you can easily build this thing back, but you got to be careful about how you fight it. Sharpedo coming in at tier 3, obviously going to outspeed most of this tier with that nice speed boost ability once you let it set up on you. So you got to be careful about that. Maybe a Trick Room set coming in against this thing could be the way to go. especially if it is going to boost up with speed boost every turn. But it does get some nice access to some really cool utility and like Psychic Fangs and things like that. But also going to hit really hard with nice Aqua Jets for priority, liquidation, and crunch and things like that for some nice stat. Next, you got Hitmonlee, another rapid spinner on the team. It's going to be really nice for him. You've got a few rapid spinners to come in here and take on some stuff. However, the Hitmonlee set is busted because usually Normal Gym, and then Unburden to make this thing stupid busted, and then you have Fake Out as your normal type move just to hit first and get a nice turn where you get some damage and you get the Unburden speed boost ability. Speed boost. So it's going to be really nice for that. Then you have Serena, a really cool mod from Generation 7. Pure Grass type. It's going to be nice to see some drop kicks and stuff like that. It does also get access to rapid spins, so that could be seen as well, but it does run pretty nicely under Sunny Day. And that could be another thing that you see with Ninetales and Serena. Nice setup there. However, it does have to be worried about the fire types coming in, maybe a berry, the fire resistant berry on this mod. As for his other 2 picks, the 3 picks, gotta go to the draft board and look it up. So sorry about that. He picks up Gyarados as a tier 2 mod, really cool mod. Does have that 4 times weakness to flying, but it can be run very nicely and do some really cool things. Obviously, Intimidate Core is going to be nice for this team. He does have other Intimidate users, such as Salamence and I guess this is his other mod, Salamence and something else on this team. Salamence and Granbull, yeah, to get some nice utility and some Intimidate switches out, so his physical attackers might not be the best thing for this team. The next pick he picks up is Medicham. It's really kind of cool to see. Could run physical, could run special. Does get some nice utility and some other moves, but really underrated mon and a lot of usage in team. And for the final pick, he picks up Granbull, nice fairy type he needed for the team. I think it pairs really well with the rest of his team, giving him a solid fairy type. However, it is pretty frail to a lot of defensive things like poison types and steel types are going to be absolutely key to taking this thing out, but it can die to a lot of other things as well. So seeing this mon come in here is not the best pick for him, but obviously it works pretty well for his team. And he battles me week 1 for his match. Next, we have the Imploding Typhlosions, picking up some better picks than last season. Gotta say that. But it is Tekkit, and we gotta be remembering that when we look at his team. So let's see how he does. He did pretty decent last season, being 3rd in the league, but we'll see what he got this season. He's bringing back his Mega Beedrill and Cloyster, so that's gonna be fun to work against. Mega Beedrill most likely gonna be Drill Run, U-Turn, Toxic, Protect, Variant, something like that. Very, very fast, very, very powerful on the physical side, but it is a Glass Cannon. It runs really Glass Cannon-y, and you just gotta live a hit or outspeed it with a Scarf or something like that, and it goes down. Next, you got Cloyster, and you're gonna see White Herb Shell Smash set with some nice Icicle Spear for priority after it gets the Shell Smasher off, and then maybe Liquidations or something else to run on the end. And then Protect it also gets to, and if he wants to, he can run Explosion. So I do foresee Explosion set, especially a Shell Smash Explosion, could be very deadly to most mons that don't resist a normal type move. Next picks up a Zoomer, which actually is pretty nice. He doesn't actually also have access to Z moves, so like Z Belly Drum could have been really busted. However, we do not allow any non-attacking Z moves. All Z moves have to be used to hit something and not just to boost up and set up. So a Belly Drum set could be run with a nice prediction, and then Aqua just runs through teams. Man, this thing could be really, really nice to see how Tekkit uses it, and very, very scary mon, but you take it out really fast, you don't really have to worry about it. Going in some Ultra Beast here with Kartana, picking up a nice grass and steel type, obviously weak to fire, and some other things. But it is a really cool mon, it hits really fast and hard, so it runs similar to the Mega Beedrill set, and he likes to run those kinds of things, so it could be nice to see a Kartana come out on this team, but you just gotta be prepared for it and ready to take it out, and you can easily take out Kartana. Next, you have my ace from last season in Celesteela, which is a really good pick for him. I think it works pretty nicely as a really good build for a team. It's kind of sad that it went like round 5 in this draft just because it is such a great mon. I was hoping not to see it, but you do have some strategies to get rid of it, as well as you saw some Z moves last season take out my Celesteela, as well as if you wear the thing down, it can go down eventually. So very good bulky mon that can also hit really hard with that nice stab heavy slam. Next, he picks up his mascot and Typhlosion, another bring from last season. Don't expect to see it too much, but it can pop out and do a lot of cool things with obviously a pretty great move pool and being one of the better starters out there. It obviously in the tier 4 slot than most that are in tier 5, but you got to be wary about how you run this thing. It is pretty nice speed tier, it is pretty nice special attack, but things can live those things and then take it out pretty nice because it does not have the best defenses, but it's a tier 4, so I can't really complain about that. Next, he picks up Ludicolo, actually something on my draft board because, as again, gives me access to that rain team if I wanted to bring it. So, nice Swift Summon ability, Rain Dish also, so Rain is really good for Ludicolo. But as a tier 5 mon, you're going to see more like Giga Drain, Ice Beam, stuff like that. Maybe a Choice Scarf or Choice Specs, or even an Assault Vest coming on this thing. Very, very useful and a lot of utility to it, so it's interesting to see how that one's going to be played out as. Next, you pick up Kingdra, another mon that was actually on my tier 4s to take. Really good in rain as well, so he's got some nice rain mons going on there just to counter some of those things, as well as the Zoomerl can also work pretty nicely in the rain. But it does have some Sniper, Swift Swim, and this thing could take out teams with some nice Dragon type moves and Water type moves. It's not really weak to anything besides Fairy, so you got to be worried about that battling it. Next, you have Gligar, which actually is a tier 3 in this draft, which I think that's a little high for a Gligar, but I understand that it can be used to run some nice Sully sets. If you're not prepared for it with the Eviolite, it's gonna wreck through teams, and really interested to see how that works out for him. Next, he picks up Slurpuff, which is actually one of his Z move users he wanted to have, but he wanted to use Z Belly Drum, which is absolutely busted on this thing, and Slurpuff would just wreck through the league. Glad that's not allowed. I'm glad he didn't make any C move picks because Slurpuff could have been really terrifying to come in and fight like that. But really good moves, really cool utility, and does get access to sticky webs as something you gotta keep your eye on if you try to outspeed like the Kartana or the Mega Beedrill. You gotta be wary about sticky webs coming out. Next, he picks up Aggron, which actually is cool for him. 4 times weak to ground and fighting, as I mentioned with my team. It's kind of interesting to see. It's got good defenses, got decent attack stat, but obviously not as good as Mega Aggron because it's a Mega form and that's their basic form. But it can be run really similarly to that, so you expect some like Life Orb, maybe Assault Vest, stuff like that. Maybe leftovers even as a tank if you want to see it that way. And his final pick of the draft to bring his steel total to 4 is a Mawile. He doesn't really need this mon. It's a nice fairy pick, but he does have a Zoomerl, and he does have a bunch of steel types on the team as well. Really only is weak to ground, so it's a pretty nice pick, but again, most of his team is also weak to ground, so ground type, nice ground type could come through and take this team out. But Mawile is obviously not something to sleep on with Sheer Force as an ability, and also is a good Intimidate user. We get to Brief Star and the St. Louis Miniors playing the Met Week 1, and Tekka Beastin plays the Derby Dolphins Week 1. Metagross comes in as a nice pickup from last season. Really good mon for a tank, and also hit pretty nice. So, what do you expect from a pseudo legendary? Not much else I can talk about it. Also, good utility. Glad this thing is not a Z move user because it could be absolutely busted that way. Rotom Wash comes in as another tier 1 mon for this guy, and I gotta say this is a pretty nice pick. I really do like Rotom Wash. I thought it was nice to bring on my team, maybe on my draft board, but obviously that was not gonna happen too well. So, because it was another tier 1 slot, and then that would make me take a bunch of tier 5s. But it does have some nice access to a lot of utility, though. It's probably going to be a Volt Switcher, nice pivot for the team. It does actually have access to some nice status moves like Will-O-Wisp and stuff like that to cause some havoc on your team, and it could be used as a defogger as well. Bring in Honchkrow, the next pick, also another defogger that has on the team. Could be a good revenge killer with some Sucker Punch and Moxie, so this thing can wreck through teams. I've used it before to wreck through teams, and I've beat people with Honchkrow 6-0. So be very wary about Honchkrow. It's a tier 3 mon. It is sort of underrated. I think it should be tier 2, but very cool mon. Next, Porygon 2, a very defensive mon, especially with the EVO light coming out. Going to boost that special defense and defense. 1.5. And, man, on my draft board, really wanted this thing. Nice special attacker that could have made a nice breakthrough on my team. But I got to fight against it now. I got to set up and wait to see how to fight it. But obviously, another same thing to Chansey. You hit that knockoff to get rid of the EVO light, and then you punch it in the face with a nice fighting type move. It's going to go down. Next, we have Garchomp, a really cool mon. Too, actually had the Mega Form last season, which kind of was a waste. But Garchomp is really cool with a nice high speed tier, breaking most of the metagame and also hitting really hard on the physical side. Assault Vest is not something to play around with this team. And also could come Scarfed or Banded, something like that. It could be really nice and it has some nice access to some really cool moves. Dragon typing also obviously going to come in here. Outrage could be something that wreck through teams if you set up Swords Dance or something like that. So gotta really watch out for the Garchomp team. Next we have Weezing, a good defensive mon in the lower tiers, tier 5. And gives him a nice poison type to come in, some fairy types. Again, poison types are really nice and nitpicky choosing. You have to pick the right ones in the right tiers to work for your team. I believe Weezing is a good pick for him. It does match really well with this team, giving some nice utility and some like electric type moves that he doesn't really have access to besides Porygon 2 and Random Wash. And some other things as well going for it. So Weezing could be a really nice mon as a nice sleeper mon. Don't sleep on it, but prepare for it. Next he picks up his Mega Manectric, one of the lower tier Megas, tier 4. Pick one on the bottom of the barrel. Really good special attack stat and pretty nice speed, but it can be walled pretty nicely as it is a tier 4. So hopefully it's not too big of a threat, but it can run really nicely in some teams. And I think this is a really good team for Mega Manectric, giving him a nice speed tier, giving him a nice high speed to match that with Garchomp. Next he brings in Dusclops in tier 5. Really cool stalling mon, going to be defensive, especially with that EVO light. Again, knockoff is going to be your best friend against this team. Can't say that enough. And you're going to see Dusclops really come in and set up on you. Got some nice utility and some burning with Will-O-Wisp, and also some really cool utility like trick and stuff like that. Next you have Noivern with one of his Z move used, and this thing is absolutely scary. You're going to see some Z stab hurricanes coming off. Z heat waves, things like that. And Noivern can run either special or physical, depending on how you want to run it. And also is very fast too, 4 times weak to ice though, so that's going to be something to consider coming in against this team. Then Roserade comes in, nice healer cleric mon for his team. Poison and grass typing, not really the best typing to be cleric, but Roserade does kind of pull it off on this team really pretty decently. And also gives it some access like Toxic Spike, Toxics, and stuff like that. So you can see some hazards and status coming out from this mon. Looking at his other Z move user, we got Ugly, a very weird pick for me, but it does have some nice utility and some really cool coverage moves besides. It's just going to be scary to come out with. You don't know what to expect with Z move, so it's best just to take this thing out. Get rid of it right away. Not have to worry about it. And finally, his last pick. We get Hariyama, which goes last pick in the draft. Very, very odd for that, but Flame Orb Guts is always a common staple on Hariyama, but it can run some other things like Sheer Force. I think it has Sheer Force. And other moves like that. So it can, I think, Inner Focus as well. But it does have some really nice access to some cool stuff. Fake Out obviously is a nice thing to throw on there for just to hit fast and make your opponent flinch. So very, very cool to see this. Very good team. So very not excited to battle this week 4. Then you got the final team of this, the Derbydon fans, coming out by Morphu285. The Derbydon fans, as he would correct me. And staying, but his first overall pick, Dugong, not really the best mon. Can run rain, can set up rain, and also get some nice utilities like Perish Song and stuff like that. So could be a nice Trapper mon and a nice Stall Out mon in that regard. Next you get up in Front Ape, which actually he brought from last season, and a Z move user. So very, very scary to see this. It's probably going to run mix. He likes to run up mix with some nice separating in both physical and special. Flamethrower comes out. You're going to see Mach Punch, things like that. Front Ape is not one to sleep on. It does get some access to nice utility moves around there. And Iron Fist also could be a really great ability with a lot of punching moves that this thing gets. Next he picks up Oricorio, and he can't run this. He can run this any form he wants to. So it's got to be predictable. You got to predict what set is coming on you. Obviously, you don't want to bring Electric type against Pom Pom. It's going to resist it, so it's going to make it neutral. So, solid rock type is a nice bet for this mon, but it does get some access to some pretty high special attack and some decent speed as well. To go with that choice scarf set with maybe a revelation dance or something, could really sweep some teams. Next pick is Dragonite, and it's really cool mon that actually was on my draft here as well, and really kind of scary to see there. Multi-skill is a nice ability, and it also can run physical or special, but you gotta worry about that 4 times weakness to ice. Next, Omastar, something he didn't really want to draft, but he picked it up because I took Seismitoad, which is what he really wanted in that slot. But Omastar does work really well, Praise Lord Helix, and it's gonna be really hard for me to fight this thing just because I don't want to defeat the god of Pokemon. So, obviously 4 times weak to grass, but it does get some really cool, nice, strong moves on its special side, and Scald and stuff like that. So, very, very tricky mon to play around. Tier 4. Don't sleep on it. Next, we got Muzdale. Statima's probably going to be a nice ability to see here, just taking some hits, and good defensive mon set up that way, but it can run some high horsepower, earthquakes, things like that. Heavy Slam also is on this mon, so got to be careful about those fairy types. And for his Mega, he picks Mega Venusaur, which is actually a really cool mon. Thick Fat takes away 2 of its weaknesses, and with Fire and Ice, really making it only weak to Psychic, so good Psychic type would be nice. For this set, luckily I have 3 of those, so I am absolutely fine to take on this team. But Mega Venusaur can be an attacker, can be a setup mon, can be a stall mon. It can run a lot of different things, so you got to be wary about what set you're going to be running against. Next, it comes in with a Alolan Raichu, which is another Z move user, so you're going to see another Soak, Spark Surfer, stuff like that coming out. It's nice, some Psychic Z with Psychic. Really terrifying thing with a lot of Z moves. Glass Cannon though, pretty decent speed and great special attack, but the rest of its stats are pretty lackluster, so worried about the Glass Cannon side of that. Then he picks up a tier 3 and Beware. So Beware this team. You want to make this team terrifying. He picks up a Beware. You gotta just love this thing. But normal fighting type, so really cool typing there. I really like the normal fighting type. I think it's really cool and also underrated. But you could see a Klutz set going on this. I don't know how he would run a Klutz set, but Klutz could come. Obviously some nice access to like utility moves like Brutal Swing and things like that. So Beware could make you want to fear this team. Googe are really nice, and this also is another Rain mon that can work really well in Rain with its abilities, and also get some nice moves and coverage. It's in a good Dragon type for physical or special, and it's going to be really fun to see how this comes in his matches. Next, he picks up Mimikyu, a pretty busted Pokemon, pun intended. You can run this Focus Sash and get its ability in disguise, so you could have 2 setups of like Sword Dance or something, sweep through with Shadow Sneak or something like that. And man, this thing really is pretty hard to take on. It can set up against you, and it can just status you right from the get-go. So you gotta be wary about how you want to fight a Mimikyu. And finally, he picks up one of my favorite mons, Gallade, coming here, Psychic and Fighting type, really cool with the Justified ability and Steadfast. So you can run this in a lot of different ways. If you can take a fighting type, it can take a dark type attack pretty well if you invest it really nicely, and then it gets the speed boost on top of that. So it's gonna be really, really cool to see how Gallade is run this season. A lot of Salt Vest coming out on this thing with some cool Leaf Blade, Psychic Cut, Drain Punch, things like that coming through. So Gallade could be really fun. So as for me, look at these teams. I'm obviously pretty scared of a lot of the things. I like how my team turned out. I think it's really nice, and I'm really excited to be the coach of the Virginia Cavaliers this season. Trying out this new logo, trying out the new team mascot, and we're gonna see what comes of that. The Met team, I think it's decently scary. Good niche in running a Disney team, but I'm not as worried about it as some of the other teams. I think it can be used really well. I'm worried about other things more or less. North Carolina Napoleon's team looks pretty amazing, I gotta say that, but it does look pretty frail in some spots, and some of the linchpins can be taken out pretty easily. So you just gotta take out those pins, and this team's gonna just fall apart. But I do like how he drafted. I do think it's a really good team, and I'm excited to see how this team runs this season. Playing Typhlosion, I did say they did better than last season in their draft here. Of course, Mega Beat, Cloyster, and Typhlosion all coming back from last season. Not really great mons, but can be run really cool, and Mega Beedrill is obviously a scary threat, but you're going to see this thing sweep, and it has to sweep in the right manner. If it comes in too early, it's going to be useless, and that could be a really bad play for him. Kingdra, looking at that lower tier, it's going to be pretty scary, and Gligar, obviously one of his common mons, to come in with a nice Earthquake, Toxic, Roost, and Protect set as staple with his Glig score last season. So I think it is better. I'm not absolutely terrified about this team, but it is something to be watching in your rearview mirror as the season goes along. As always, Brief does a great job drafting and really terrifying battler to go up against. Really was a struggle in my final matches to beat him, but I'm glad I did, and really fun to battle him. I'm going to be excited to see how we face off in week 4, but with this team, I'm expecting it to be devastating as his team last season was. That Zapdos was absolutely phenomenal, but I think out of the draft, he has drafted one of the better teams this season. I think he probably would be the best team drafted. Obviously, I'm going to go through them and say which one I think is the best, but I might be a little bit biased in that. But I think this is a really cool team to see, and I'm really excited to see how he battles this season. Then the Derby Dome fans with 2v5, it's a kind of underwhelming team, a lot of lower tier mons, but he does have the access with the 50 draft points he has remaining to send those around how he wants to and update his team. However, there is a 2-week time meltdown for picks, so if you trade a pick week 1, you can get it in week 3. So you got to be worried about how that works out. So he wants to make these picks. He wants to do trades really early on. It doesn't really give him a lot of time this season to make trades because he only has 4 weeks to do trades, so 4 trades, and it's done. And by that time, he's going to be really low seeded in the postseason, so it's not going to be really great for him that way either. But still, I'm interested to see how he decides to run this team. Obviously, Inferno is going to be a nice mon that I really like to use, so very interested to see that. So, according to me, I'm going to go with what teams I think with the breakdown in order of how good I think this team's going to be this season. And I'm going to start out with I know I'm going to sleep on this team and it's going to bite me in the butt, but I think the Mets have probably the weakest draft this season. I do know it's his first season drafting. He did a decent job of first season, but a lot of these mons are going to go out really fast, and really you got to worry about that Mew and Shaman and some of his hard hitters. But other than that, it's pretty lackluster in some areas, lacking a lot of defense. Besides that, Snorlax and Vaporeon and Regirock. So, but a lot of those mons are weak to a lot of powerful mons that my team has. So just looking at my matchup against Met, it looks pretty nice for me, and I am interested to see how that match goes in week 3. Next, for a week draft here, we're going to look at the Dawn fans. I do think picking Dugong week tier 1 was a really bad pick. It's a very lackluster mon and picking some really cool things. He does have a lot of tier 5s. I do think he should have picked some higher tiers instead of just going tier 5, but draft strategies be draft strategies, my friend. We'll see how you do later on in the season with some trades maybe coming here and there. And very interesting to finish out the regular season against Tui. Seeing where he's at, and it's always fun to battle Tui. He's got some nice strategy and things going on. Next, we're going to have Tekkit for the 4 slot for the weaker tiers. Picking up some of the same mons as last season. He didn't really capitalize too well on them last season as well, so just worry about some of those sets coming in pretty nicely. Celesteal is obviously a big threat against any team, as well as Kartana. If he runs Mega Beedrill right and Azumarill right, they also could be a nice set. So he's got some nice physical attacking Pokemon in the top of his tiers, and has some nice bulk in that Celesteal. So you really got to be worried about that Celesteal. I expect to see that thing come most weeks because it is superb in battling, but it can be taken out. So I definitely expect to see Celesteal against me because it was one of my mons that worked really well last season. So we're going to see him in week 2, see how he works about that. Next pickup on the next one on the list is going to be the North Carolina Napoleons in the 3 slot for the drafting analysis. I think he did a really good job. I'm really excited to see how Zygamer battles this season. I've never battled him before. Week 1 is going to be scary because I don't know how he's coming in. So I'm going to have to prepare some really some either really crazy sets, some really safe sets. I don't know yet. It's going to be really fun to see how that is, but make sure you check out the team builder for that. As I said last, I'll get into that stuff at the end. But really cool commons, and Zoroark's going to be something I want to really highlight on this team. It's going to be nice to see. He could switch that in on some nice psychic types. So that could be something I need to take into consideration as well. Sharpedo is pretty nice down there as well. Good counter to a lot of rain. The rain, you've seen a lot of rain come out this time, but Ninetales is there to set up the drought. So could see a Sun team, and that's pretty uncommon in draft tiers, but Sun team could be something you see later on. I think the second best team drafted this season is the Mini Wars. I'm giving myself the benefit of the doubt and talking about first seed, but I'll talk about that later. Now, Brief's team, Brief is absolutely scary in battle. He likes to psych out his opponents, which is really good in mind games, and I really like that about him. I really admire him as a battler for that. So shout out to you, Brief Star, for being awesome, and he really is one of the bigger threats in this league just as a really good battler. But he does have a really good tier of mons to come with him. He wanted some other mons, but obviously breaking down with some loss of picks throughout the draft didn't really help him out too much, having to pick 2 tier 5s up in his last 2 slots. But Noivern and Perigly with the Z-moves are going to be pretty terrifying, and then Garchomp wrecking through teams, Metagross hitting some nice moves, and also being a pretty bulky tank. Got some nice switching out and things going on with that through the team too. So runs very Brief Star style with a lot of fun and cool sets that really mesh pretty well together. And then the best team, the only team that matters, is the Miami Dawn fans and Kyle A. No, I'm kidding. He's not in this league. I wish he was, because I'd be absolutely busted and he would win hands down. But I think I had the best draft this season. I know that sounds a little biased to me, but let me tell you why I think that is. You got to prepare for everything with this team, and that's what I really wanted to strive for this season. I wanted some new mons, trying out some different things. I wanted to be unpredictable, and I think I really matched that with this team. You can expect physical or special Tapu Koko. Halucha can run in many different forms. Seismitoad comes in many different forms, being defensive or attacking. Agumon can be defensive or attacking. Tornadus comes in physically or specially if you want to run it either way, and also get some nice utility on that thing. Cresselia, bulky as crap, and gives me a nice defensive mon there that also can run attacking with some nice setup and stuff like that, sweeping teams. Drapion, really cool typing and really cool mon, really only weak to ground, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how Drapion runs through this team with a nice physical attack stat as well as a pretty decent speed. Florges, a good healer mon, gives me access to that if I want to run it any weeks. Also a cool special attacker if I want to run it that way as well. Garbodor, really cool in a lot of aspects and really fun to see how I want to use it this season, as it might be a nice linchpin at the bottom, but it also could cost me some matches here and there as well. Yuxi, I've talked about my team, guys. You know what's coming on with these guys. It's going to be really cool to see some nice setup and stuff going on with this team. But I just think the utility of this team, the unpredictableness of this team, is really going to get some coaches and really going to be working in my favor, especially when we come into the postseason. I'm going to say this now. I don't plan on bringing any of the same sets I bring in the regular season to postseason against the same opponents. So you could see rain 1 week. You can see rain regular season, no rain postseason. You can see none of my water types come postseason at all. You can see half the team coming in. You can see the team split evenly, each Pokemon getting average time to battle, so you can see a nice split even with things like that. But you also could see a very one-sided team coming in with the same 6 mons every single week, running different things and taking out a lot of different styles of teams. So I like the unpredictableness, but get under my skin, figure out what I'm going to do, and try to beat me. I'd love to see you guys do that. So, with all that being said, this is where we're going to end this little video today. I hope you guys, I say little video as it's probably gone on for about, half an hour now. An hour, almost. An hour video, guys. But, I hope you guys did enjoy it. You guys are awesome. I hope you guys are excited for FPL Season 2. And we are currently in week 1, so hopefully you guys do come out and check those out. My battles, personally, are going to be Sundays. I'm going to do the team builder at noon, and I'm going to do the match at 1 o'clock both Eastern Standard Time every single week, just because it's going to be, because that Sunday is the start of the week, so I want to make sure I have all the stuff done before then. I know last season I had a couple times where I tried to do the Friday-Saturday thing, and I didn't get my matches in until Friday night, so that means I had to make the team builder and then immediately post it, which I didn't really like doing. So I'm going to save myself a little bit of hassle here and make it on the Sunday the week after. So you'll see the week 1 Sunday matches on the 10th, and it'll go on from there. So I'll see you guys in this match. Just go check out the other coaches that I mentioned here. I've been flashing their YouTube channels on the top of each of their slides, so go check those out as well. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you do subscribe for more content from me, as well as keep updated on the season. Leave a like if you did enjoy this breakdown and you are excited for the season. You guys feel free to do whatever in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the teams, what I did with this analysis. If you like the analysis at all, if you thought this was a waste of time, let me know in the comments below. Dislike it, even if you didn't like it. It helps me out either way. But you guys are always phenomenal, and I'm really excited to announce the beginning of Fletching 2 Pokemon League Season 2. I'll see you guys in Week 1 match against North Carolina and Polions. Team Builder comes out Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and then the match will be following it at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But until then, guys, I'm ChaosMate006, signing off. Burn it up.